Xianlan Continent, Shining Sun Empire, Xinjiao Mountain Range. As the largest mountain range in the Shining Sun Empire, there are all kinds of monsters in the Xinjiao Mountain Range, and there are countless elixir that make people feel dizzy, attracting countless practitioners to come here to hunt for treasures. According to rumors, there are countless mysterious ancient ruins inside. Young man, I am amazed by your skeleton. You are an incomparable cultivation genius. If you are willing to join my immortal sect, with the cultivation of my immortal sect, your future achievements will be extraordinary. In a valley in the Xinjiao Mountains, Wang Feng smiled and said to the fat man in front of him, his appearance is extraordinary, his facial features are as delicate as a knife, if a woman sees him, she will scream in surprise. Are you trying to cheat me of money? Fatty Li Qing wrapped the package in his hand, looked at Wang Feng with a wary expression, and asked. Young man, don't insult this sect master. As the dignified sect master, how could this sect care about your money? When he heard this sentence, Li Qing's vigilance lightened slightly, and he thought to himself, the master of the family, why should he lie to him for this money? However, the fee for joining the sect is definitely not less. Just before Li Qing thought about whether to join or not, a voice sounded again in his ear. You also said you didn't want to cheat me with money. Li Qing's eyes widened and he looked at Wang Feng viciously. If Wang Feng dared to touch his money, he would do it with all his might. I ask you, are you looking for a sect to join you when you came to the Xinjiao Mountains? Wang Feng ignored Li Qing's vigilance and continued to speak. Yet, my mother said that only by cultivation can you have a future and find a wife. Isn't it? As long as you have a strong cultivation base, you are afraid of not having a wife? So, this sect is standing in front of you now, or the head of a sect is recruiting you in person. What are you still hesitating about? Money is something outside your body, and it is important to have a wife. Is it important to become stronger with practice? Wang Feng clapped his palms, and said in disgust that iron cannot become steel. That posture, it seems that if you don't join his sect, there will be a huge loss. That, can you introduce your sect first? Li Qing said weakly. Under normal circumstances, if there is a sect willing to accept him, Li Qing will laugh from ear to ear. After all, he is only a mortal, but this person in front of him is very strange. In this case, in Li Qing's thoughts, only in dreams. The sect created by this sect is called Shengxianzong. As the name suggests, as long as you join our Shengxianzong, this sect will serve you non-stop, and you will become a god. Hearing Li Qing's words, Wang Feng suddenly became excited and said with a smile on his face. Real. Li Qing looked at Wang Feng suspiciously. Although he was an ordinary person, he also knew that cultivation was not easy. How could he say it was so simple? It's absolutely true, if you can't become a god, this sect will double all the money you receive, and let you leave the sect and find another one to join. How about it? Wang Feng patted his chest and said with a sincere expression on his face. Okay then. Hearing Wang Feng's words, Li Qing thought that he would not lose anything, so he would try to join this immortal sect. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully accepting a disciple, activating the strongest sect system, and getting a chance to summon and a chance to draw a lottery. After Li Qing's voice fell, a cold voice sounded in Wang Feng's mind, and this cold voice made the boulder in Wang Feng's heart finally fall. Ma Dan, this Go system, brought him into this world. It doesn't matter if you don't give him an invincible cultivation base, and give him 3 days, let him accept a disciple to activate the system, otherwise it will be directly obliterated. If it wasn't for this fat man being so foolish, wouldn't he be finished? Thinking about Wang Feng, there are still some lingering fears. This Go system, which is easily obliterated, does not have the qualities that a golden finger should have. Sect Master, here, this is all my belongings. Li Qing said reluctantly as he handed the tightly wrapped package to Wang Feng. Okay, don't worry, this sect will definitely make you the most shining genius in the world. Wang Feng took Li Qing's package with a smile and said gently. That, sect master, where is our sect's station? Li Qing asked with a look of hope. Ah, the cultivation sect. Li Qing never thought that he would be able to worship the cultivation sect so easily. In Xianlan continent, although there are many cultivators, they are still very rare compared to mortals. Every mortal aspires to become a cultivator, but how is it so easy to become a cultivator? Otherwise, he wouldn't be lucky enough to carry all his belongings and run to the Xinjiao mountains to seek the Tao. Come with Benzone. Wang Feng waved his hand, said aloud, turned around, and walked directly into the valley. Seeing this, Li Qing quickly followed. Sect master, this is the address of our sect. Li Qing looked at the thatched cottage in front of him with an incredible look, and exclaimed, he even felt like he was cheated by Wang Feng. No, he was cheated. Hearing Li Qing's exclamation, Wang Feng's mouth twitched, hesitant. He had just crossed into this world a day ago, and was forced by the system to complete the task of accepting disciples. I can only hurriedly build a thatched hut to serve as my sect residence. During this day, it is not that he did not meet other mortals who came to the Xinjiao mountains to seek the way, but most people, when they saw this station, took the money given to him, turned their heads and ran away. Li Qing is the only one who didn't run away immediately after seeing this thatched cottage. It's hidden in the forest, fat man, don't look at the surface. Wang Feng stood with his hands behind his back, and said with an unfathomable expression. As long as this sect can teach you to practice, it's enough. Why should you care about where you live? Yes, I believe in the sect master. Li Qing nodded when he heard Wang Feng's words, and said with a naive expression. Damn, fat people are so good at fooling around? Seeing that Li Qing believed it, Wang Feng was a little incredulous. He was still a mortal, and he didn't even know how to cultivate. How to teach him? It's not easy for you to come to this Xinjiao mountain range. Go and rest first. Wang Feng couldn't bear to fool Li Qing, and waved his hand. Yes, sect master. System, call up the attribute panel of this sect. Looking at Li Qing's back, Wang Feng secretly said. Ding, the host properties panel is as follows. Host, Wang Feng repair, none physique, none bloodline, none create a sect, Shengxianzong sect disciple, Li Qing. Looking at his attribute panel, Wang Feng suddenly felt like he was a 3-0 product, with nothing at all. How could he call himself an ancestor? Ding, congratulations to the host for activating the mission. After collecting 10 disciples, you will be rewarded with 5 summoning chances and 5 lucky draw chances. Hearing the cold voice that sounded in his mind, Wang Feng's mouth twitched slightly, hesitant. It took him a long time to accept 1 disciple, and 10 disciples. What year and month would he have to receive? By the way, system, what's the deal with the summoning chance and the lottery chance? Wang Feng asked quickly when he thought of accepting a reward from a disciple. Before, although the system appeared, it didn't tell him what it would do. It just asked him to create a sect, and he had to accept a disciple to activate the system. Summoning opportunity, you can summon the powerhouses of the heavens, become the people of the sect created by the host, and help the host teach the disciples. The lottery opportunity allows the host to draw a lottery. Wait, once you get it, you can use it for the sect disciples, and the host can also use it yourself. So strong! Wang Feng's eyes widened, his face full of excitement, his whole body was constantly shaking with excitement. Ma Dan, if the powerhouse summoned is strong enough, and the bloodline physique is drawn by lottery, and then trains disciples or uses it for himself, wouldn't that cause an explosion? System, hurry up and summon this host, it is best to summon an invincible strong man. Wang Feng said impatiently, his waist straightened. Ma Dan, God knows how frightened he was when he just landed in the Xinjiao mountain range. If it wasn't for this place but the periphery of the Xinjiao mountain range, and there weren't so many monsters, he would have been cold. With his mortal body, being met by the monsters in the Xinjiao mountains, even the weakest monsters, he is afraid that he can only become the ration of others. Besides, I finally received a disciple, and the brilliance was blown out. Don't hurry up and summon a strong person to come out to support the scene. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com at the same time protect the small life. How can it be done? Ding! Congratulations to the host for summoning Yegukin, the master of Baiun City. Do you want to check its attribute panel? Check and check. Wang Feng said quickly, a look of anticipation flashed in his eyes. How could he not know Yegukin's name? He never thought that he was so lucky to be able to summon a kendo boss like Yegukin. However, Wang Feng didn't know Yegukin's strength. In this world, what degree of cultivator can he rival? Ding! Yegukin's attribute panel is as follows. Name, Yegukin Cultivation, Peak of Princely Realm Profound Skill, Flying Immortal Outside the Sky, Peak of Heaven, Xianbing, Fiheng, Peak of Heaven. Brilliant! As expected of Yegukin. Seeing Yegukin's attribute panel, Wang Feng was in a good mood. Although he didn't know the level of the princely realm, he was at least better than a mortal like him, and when he heard this princely realm, he felt knowing is extraordinary. System, where is Yegukin? Wang Feng asked eagerly after scanning the surroundings. Yegukin will arrive immediately. Remind the host. The strong people summoned by the host have a causal relationship with the host. Under normal circumstances, they will not betray the host and betray the sect, but if the host forcibly asks him to do things that go against his own principles, it is still very important. It is very likely that you will betray. I hope the host will pay attention. Every powerhouse summoned is a living person, please be kind to the host. Aren't you nonsense? As a good youth, I never force others, and, are you sure that my small body can force Yegukin to do what he doesn't want to do? Hearing the system, Wang Feng turned over. Rolling his eyes, he said with a speechless face, he is not so stupid yet. The first release of this book comes from 17K Novel Network, so watch the genuine content for the first time. Author's note, new book released, please support. Buzz. In the valley, Wang Feng, who was waiting for Yegukin to come, suddenly felt a shock in the space, so frightened that he quickly hid behind the tree and peeked at the direction of the shock of the void. Under Wang Feng's shocking gaze, a figure stepped out from the void, white clothes like snow, and long hair fluttering. Even at a distance of 10 meters, Wang Feng could feel an aura of arrogance and arrogant sword intent. Come! On the night of the full moon, at the top of the Forbidden City, with the sword coming from the west, the immortals fly from the sky. Looking at the slowly falling figure, Wang Feng couldn't help but think of this sentence. Fixian outside the sky refers to Yegukin. It not only refers to its people as flying immortals outside the sky, but also because of Yegukin's unique trick, Fixian outside the sky, which was created by Yegukin, like blue sky and white clouds, flawless and flawless. The momentum of a sword strike is brilliant and rapid, and it is extremely mysterious. Yegukin, I have seen the suzerain. As soon as the figure in white clothes fell to the ground, he looked in the direction of Wang Feng, bowed slightly to Wang Feng, and said softly. Don't be too polite, if the immortal sect can join Gukin, the sky will rise. Wang Feng quickly walked out from behind the tree and said to Yegukin, with a satisfied smile on his face. Yegukin stood quietly and was not excited by Wang Feng's words. His arrogance was revealed at this moment. Seeing this, Wang Feng didn't think too much. He knew that Yegukin was so arrogant. In the world where he lives, in the whole world, only Ximenchuixu can be recognized by Yegukin. System, don't you have another chance to draw a lottery? Give it to me too. Afterwards, Wang Feng secretly said that the summoning opportunity made him very satisfied, and he couldn't wait to see if the lottery chance would satisfy him too. Seeing that Wang Feng was in deep thought, Yegukin slowly walked behind Wang Feng and stood quietly holding his sword, like a guard. Ding! Congratulations to the host for drawing 10% of Yegukin's cultivation, please choose to use it yourself or to use it for the disciples in the sect. The cold voice that sounded in his mind made Wang Feng excited, and his whole body was trembling. God is pitiful, he can finally become a cultivator. He has automatically filtered the sentence at the back of the system, Ma Dan, his sect master is immortal, so he won't improve his cultivation, but use it for his disciples? System, what realm can Yegukin's 10% cultivation level raise me to? Wang Feng asked secretly. The host can be promoted to the early stage of entering the phase. The cold voice in his mind made Wang Feng puzzled. Until now, he still didn't know the specific cultivation realm in this world. He asked again, System, how exactly is the cultivation realm in this world divided? Xianlan continent strengthens itself by cultivating profound energy. It is divided into foundation building, profound veins, psychic, mysterious general, entering phase, prince, small realm. So it is. Wang Feng nodded, and then became excited again. With Yegukin's 10% cultivation level, he was directly promoted from a mortal to a phase entry realm, which is really strong. System, extract the cultivation base. When Wang Feng's voice fell, a powerful force suddenly emerged in Wang Feng's body. This force continuously tempered Wang Feng's body, transformed Wang Feng's meridians, and tempered Wang Feng's body into a body that is truly possessed by a strong person in the phase entry realm. Buzz. After a long time, this power slowly stopped, and Wang Feng also jumped from a mere mortal to a top master in the phase entry realm. At this moment, Wang Feng's whole person is refreshed, especially when he feels the powerful power in his body. A satisfied smile appeared on his face. It wasn't until this moment that he realized the power of a cultivator. He's finally no longer a cripple. God knows how excited Wang Feng is at the moment. Ding, the system provides the function of hiding cultivation. Does the host need to hide his cultivation? Hide. Wang Feng nodded without hesitation. Although he has become a phase entry realm, and he is surrounded by strong men like Yegukin, who are at the peak of the princely realm, Wang Feng also knows the depth of the water in this world. Zong, Sect Master, this is. At this moment, a trembling voice sounded, causing Wang Feng to look around, only to see Li Qingzheng looking at Yegukin with horror. At this moment, in Li Qing's sense, Yegukin is like a divine sword exuding a sharp sword energy, just a glance makes his whole mind tremble. This is Yegukin, the elder of my immortal sect. Wang Feng said indifferently. He naturally knew what Li Qing was afraid of. Although Yegukin didn't exude a breath at this moment, how could Li Qing, a mortal, be able to look directly at him? Disciple Li Qing, I've seen elder yet. Hearing this, Li Qing didn't dare to be negligent, and hurriedly bowed respectfully to Yegukin. Compared with Wang Feng, Yegukin gave him a real feeling. Cultivator. Facing Li Qing's salute, Yegukin nodded arrogantly. Seeing this, Li Qing didn't dare to say anything, and stood there obediently. Previously, he returned to the thatched hut to rest, and the more he thought about it, the more wrong it became. Even in a poor cultivator's sect, it is impossible to only use a thatched hut as a station. Bar. Therefore, the more Li Qing thought about it, the more he felt that he had been deceived by Wang Feng. He wanted to come up with a theory with Wang Feng, but he couldn't expect to see such bigwigs as Yegukin, and immediately suppressed all doubts. Sect Master, someone is here. At this moment, Yegukin's eyes flashed with a sharp color, and he said to Wang Feng. It doesn't matter, let's take a look. Wang Feng narrowed his eyes slightly and waved his hand. After Yegukin's voice fell, he also noticed it. After all, he is also a master of the phase entry realm at the moment, and he also sensed the person coming. The cultivation base is not high, and the old is there immediately. He will not forget that the system wants him to recruit 10 disciples. At present, he has only recruited 1. Considering the current situation, anyone can become his target for recruiting into the sect. Behind the two of them, Li Qing's eyes flashed with envy, and he secretly said, "This is probably a cultivator's ability to know 1,000 miles at a glance. I didn't expect that the mediocre sect master would be so powerful, to join this immortal zone. It's really not a loss, I'm very fortunate." Wang Feng and others didn't wait long when they saw a woman wearing a white gauze skirt, covered in blood, staggering towards them. Looking at her appearance, it seemed that she had just experienced a battle. "If I can escape today, Fiwu will surely perish the traitors." Fiwu swore secretly while covering the wound, and there was a flash of hatred in those beautiful eyes. It was hard to imagine such a fairy like this. The woman would burst out with such a strong hatred. "This girl, seeing that you are in a hurry, you must have encountered a strong enemy and entered my immortal sect, you can be safe." But at this moment, a voice came, which made Fei Wu, who was running away, stunned for a moment. She looked for her reputation and saw three figures slowly walking towards her. The one headed by him was very handsome. Although there is not the slightest breath, but the temperament is not to be underestimated. And beside her, a man with a sword in white clothes like snow gave Fiwu a kind of like facing a sharp-edged sword, which made her heart tremble fiercely. Although the crisis is approaching, for some reason, seeing Wang Feng and the three of them, Fiwu has an inexplicable feeling that they can get rid of the danger with these three people. "Anyway, you may not be able to escape, it is better to give it a try." Fiwu gritted his teeth, stopped running away, bowed to Wang Feng and others, and said, "I've seen Senior, I don't know who Senior is." Hearing Fiwu's words, the corner of Wang Feng's mouth twitched. He didn't expect that this woman was so focused on escaping for her life that they didn't even see it. "Keep flying." Ding! Congratulations to the host for activating the quest. This woman will be included in the sect, and you can get the quest reward, Small World Sect Station. Wang Feng stood with his hands behind his back, and said indifferently, "This sect is the sect master of the Immortal Sect." The Immortal Sect. Hearing Wang Feng's words, a hint of doubt flashed in Fei Wu's eyes. Although she did not dare to clarify the sects of the entire Xianlan continent, Yu reading www.yuuganshu.com, but at least in this Shining Sun Empire, she still knows, but she has never heard of such sects as the Immortal Sect. Could it be that he did not enter the sect of Liu? Fei Wu thought to herself, but as soon as the idea appeared, she was thrown away by Fei Wu. The sword-holding man beside Wang Feng felt too amazing for her. She absolutely did not believe that such an existence existed. The people who entered the sect. I don't know what the sect master just said, but is it true? Fei Wu stared at Wang Feng with a pair of beautiful eyes, and asked. After being delayed by Wang Feng, Fei Wu knew that she would definitely not be able to escape the pursuit of those people, so she could only fight. Give it a try. I hope these people in front of her can really help her resist the pursuit of those powerful enemies. Naturally, take it seriously, enter my immortal sect, and this sect will keep you safe. Wang Feng glanced at Fei Wu and said indifferently. With his current cultivation, he could see at a glance that the woman in front of her had reached the peak of the psychic realm, which was much better than that of a mortal like Li Qing. Even if there is no mission issued by the system, based on this alone, Wang Feng will make a statement to recruit this woman into the sect. According to the age of this woman, she is only 18 or 19 years old, but she has reached the peak of the psychic realm. This is probably a legend. Genius! Okay, the junior Fei Wu is willing to join the immortal sect, and please ask the sect master to keep the junior safe. Fei Wu gritted his teeth, and immediately bowed his hands to Wang Feng, respectfully. She didn't know whether Wang Feng could resist the powerful enemies who were chasing her, but at this moment she had no choice but to pin her hopes on Wang Feng and others. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully accepting Fei Wu, completing the system task, and rewarding the Small World Sect Station. Just after Fei Wu agreed, the cold voice of the system sounded in Wang Feng's mind. The first release of this book comes from 17K Novel Network, so watch the genuine content for the first time. System: what is the Sect station in the small world? Could it be that you are sending me a Sect station? Wang Feng asked secretly. Yes, host, the small world Sect station has a complete palace required by the Sect, located in the small world opened up by the system. This small world has been hung on the Xianlan continent by the system. Please choose the small world. The entrance to the world. The cold voice that sounded in his mind made Wang Feng's eyes burst into a ray of light. As expected of the system, it really won his heart. He was worried that his Sect location was a bit shabby, and the system immediately sent it to him. Well, let's set it up in that thatched hut. Wang Feng thought for a while pinching his chin, and then said. After all, this thatched cottage was built by him. It looked shabby, but it also pinned some of Wang Feng's feelings after coming to this world. Furthermore, this thatched cottage is simple and unassuming, which is in line with his low-key personality. After setting up the entrance of the Sect station, Wang Feng looked at Fei Wu and said lightly, "Tell me about your affairs." Now that Fei Wu has become a disciple of his immortal Sect, then he, the Sect master, should take care of her affairs, otherwise it will make the disciples chill. Yes, Sect master. Hearing this, Fei Wu bowed respectfully towards Wang Feng, and then said angrily with gnashing teeth. The disciple's full name is Ling Fei Wu. She is the eldest young lady of the Ling family of the Yaori Empire, Yaofeng City. During an outing, she met Lin Yunyi, the young marquis of the Changlinho mansion of the Yaori Empire. I thought she was the young marquis. Lin Yunyi should be a handsome young man, but I didn't expect him to covet his disciple's beauty and want to insult him, so he tried his best to escape from his hands. After returning home, the disciple thought that this matter was over, but the next day, Lin Yunyi brought the strong man from Changlinho's mansion to my Ling family. On the grounds that the disciple did not follow suit to Miao, and I went up and down the Ling family. My father tried desperately to protect him, and he was lucky enough to escape. At this moment, the disciple is afraid that he will not be able to see the suzerain, but even so, he is still chased and killed by the strong men led by Lin Yunyi for tens of thousands of miles, just to catch the disciple back. Besides the disciple, there are hundreds of people above and below, and none of them survived. The disciple does not expect the Sect master to avenge the disciple, but only hopes that the Sect master can protect the disciple, and don't let the disciple be bullied by such traitors. If it is possible, in the future, this waiting for the blood feud, the disciple will come to avenge it in person. Don't worry, you are already a disciple of my immortal Sect. As long as this Sect is here, no one can deceive you. Wang Feng's eyes flashed a stern look as he said lightly. At this time, Wang Feng's heart was full of anger. He did not expect that there are such scumbags in this cultivation world. For the so-called young prince of Changlin Haofu, Lin Yunyi, in Wang Feng's heart, he already knew it, is dead. He knew that in this world of cultivation, the cruelty and the strong prey on the weak. If he didn't meet him, he wouldn't mind his own business, but since he met him and he was a disciple of his Sect, he would not let it go no matter who he was. Otherwise, how could he have the face to become the suzerain of others? Previously, as a mortal, he could only be cautious, but at this moment, he has a system, although he still needs to keep a low profile, but as the saying goes, people. Hearing Wang Feng's words, Ling Feiwu breathed a sigh of relief in her heart. What she feared most was that Wang Feng was too frightened to keep her after hearing the name of the Marquis of Changlin. Now Wang Feng's attitude made her completely peace of mind. However, what Ling Feiwu didn't know was that Wang Feng didn't even know what Changlinho mansion represented in the Yaori Empire. Call out! Call out! After a while, several air-breaking sounds suddenly sounded in the ears of Wang Feng and others, followed by a mournful laughter. Fei Wu, do you think you can escape from the palm of the Lord Ben? Go back with the Lord Ben, and the Lord can spare your life. Then, 7 figures with a powerful aura descended into the valley in vain. looking at Ling Fiwu's eyes full of disdain and banter. Lin Yunyi, I have joined the immortal sect. The sect master is here, how can you be arrogant? Ling Fiwu took a step and shouted angrily, looking at Lin Yunyi with hatred in his eyes. If it weren't for this person, she would still be the eldest miss of the Ling family, still the jewel in the palm of her father's mother's hand. Why did she fall to this point? Hearing Ling Fiwu's roar, these 7 people just noticed the existence of Wang Feng and the 3 of them, but it was only a glance, and there was a trace of disdain in the eyes of the 7 people, and there was no fluctuation in their cultivation. I didn't expect that you are not only beautiful, but also so scheming. It's just that you just found 3 ants and wanted to scare me back. Are you underestimating me? Lin Yunyi sneered. If it were someone else, Ling Fiwu might be stunned, but who is he? He is the young marquis of the Changlin Ho mansion of the Yaori Empire. In the entire Yaori Empire, not to mention covering the sky with one hand, but at least there is no him except for the existence at the top. Lin Yunyi did not dare to provoke people. Moreover, he has asked his subordinates to investigate carefully. There is no trace of profound energy fluctuations in these 3 people. It is obviously a mortal ant that Ling Fiwu did not know where to find it. If you don't want these 3 ants to die because of you, then go back with the Marquis and make him happy. The Marquis may be able to seal you a concubine. Lin Yun looked down at Ling Fiwu, the face is rampant. Seeing this, Ling Fiwu turned her eyes to Wang Feng with a hint of hope. She didn't know how strong Wang Feng was, let alone whether Wang Feng could block Lin Yunyi, but at present, Wang Feng was her only hope. Wang Feng stood with his hands behind his back, his eyes were incomparably deep, and he had an expert attitude, but he did not move at all. Wang Feng was considering whether to take the shot himself, try the strength of entering the phase, or let Yekukan take the shot. These 7 people have all reached the cultivation level of the profound general realm, and the strongest one has even reached the peak of the profound general realm. He has just reached the stage of enlightenment from a mortal body. Although the system has clearly stated that there are no side effects, he has never had any side effects before. After practicing, I still can't fully grasp the power of the cultivation base at this time. If there were no Ling Fiwu and others, Wang Feng would definitely let Yekukan take the lead and practice with these 7 people. But now, the 2 disciples he just accepted are all here. If he is the suzerain, if he still competes with the district Xianzhong. You come and go, so what's the point? While Wang Feng was pondering, Lin Yunyi was even more convinced that the 3 of Wang Feng were just mortal ants that Ling Fiwu found casually. A few ants, I don't know Tianwei, kill them and capture Ling Fiwu. Lin Yunyi said contemptuously, his words were full of indifferent killing intent, his patience had reached the limit, and he didn't want to play cat and mouse with Ling Fiwu. Game. Dare to offend Xiahe yet, I really don't know whether to live or die. In my next life, I have long eyes and some existence. It is not something that ordinary people can offend. A person rushed out from behind Lin Yunyi, standing in front of Wang Feng and others, and scolded angrily. Today, let you and other ordinary people see the power of the strong. Immediately afterwards, an incomparably fierce aura emanated from his body, shaking the entire void, his body moved, and the whole person appeared in front of Wang Feng in an instant, and slapped Wang Feng's head with one hand, which would make Wang Feng's entire body. The posture of people shooting into meat patties. Gokin. Feeling the fierce aura that burst out from this person, Wang Feng was still very indifferent. He didn't even look at the strong man who shot, and sighed softly. Buzz. When Wang Feng's voice fell, the sword in Yekukan's arm suddenly trembled, and then, a ray of light flashed past. This dazzling light made everyone present close their eyes subconsciously. When Lin Yunyi and the others opened their eyes again, he saw that his subordinate was still in the stance of bombarding Wang Feng, while Wang Feng and others remained the same, and immediately frowned and scolded. What are you dawdling at? You still don't kill this ant. Boom. When Lin Yunyi's scolding fell, the subordinate's whole body was torn apart instantly, the cuts on his body were neat and tidy, and no blood even came out. Hiss! When Lin Yunyi and the others saw such a bizarre scene, they suddenly took a deep breath, and they were almost scared to the ground. A powerhouse in the profound general realm was killed in such an inexplicable way? With such a method, I am afraid that the masters of entering the phase can't do it, right? Could it be, the king, the prince? Lin Yun was sweating coldly on his forehead, tremblingly, looking at Wang Feng, his eyes were full of horror. Only a prince can kill a powerful man in the profound general realm so easily and without a trace. But that is a prince. In the entire Shining Sun Empire, princes are first-class powerhouses. Even his father, Marquis Changlin, is nothing more than a princely realm. At this moment, Lin Yunyi can't wait to slap himself. Even his father doesn't want to provoke the existence of the princely realm easily. He didn't expect that he was so unlucky to meet a master of the princely realm. Previous, senior, this junior has eyes but doesn't know Mount Tai. After leaving this time, I will let my father, Marquis Changlin of Yaori Empire, prepare a generous gift for you. Lin Yunyi directly bowed at a 90-degree angle. Trembling voice. Lin Yunyi's state of being so respectful immediately made Ling Fiwu and Li Qing stunned. Just now, he was so arrogant and lawless, as if Lin Yunyi, who was the #1 father in the world, was so cowardly. Ling Fiwu was only slightly shocked by the change in Lin Yunyi's attitude, but she somewhat understood why Lin Yunyi was like this. Even Ling Fiwu, at this moment, a stormy wave was set off in her heart. Although she pinned her hopes on Wang Feng, she did not expect that Wang Feng would be able to directly kill a mysterious general under Lin Yunyi with such an unpredictable method. That is the powerhouse of the Xianzhong realm. Maybe the Xianzhong realm is nothing in the imperial capital of the Yaori Empire, but looking at the entire Yaori Empire, the powerhouse of the profound general realm is considered to be above the middle level. The strength is not strong, but the mind is quite a lot. The district chief Linho, in the case of this sect, is like an ant. Wang Feng's eyes were indifferent, and his words were full of confidence, and then Wang Feng waved at Yegukan, indicating Yegukan suppressed these people. The first release of this book comes from 17K Novel Network, so watch the genuine content for the first time. Before Lin Yun could tremble, he and even several of his subordinates felt a huge pressure burst out from the figure in white clothes like snow, and stood to suppress them, like a deep sea like a sea. The heavy breath made them almost breathless. Wait, former, senior, junior doesn't mean to offend, please forgive me. Lin Yunyi was really scared. This terrible pressure made him almost suffocate, and he was running rampant all the time. Gee, he had never felt such a strong pressure. He didn't even think that in the past, as long as he mentioned his father's name, he would be able to do everything, but in front of this person, his father's name seemed to be invalid, and it had no effect at all. Fiwu, come here. Wang Feng glanced at Lin Yunyi indifferently, ignored it, and waved to Fiwu. As soon as Lin Yun destroys your Ling family, it will be handed over to you, and you should collect interest first. In the future, this sect will go to Changlinho Mansion with you and seek justice for you. Hearing Wang Feng's words, Fei Wu's beautiful eyes turned red in vain, and her whole body trembled slightly, staring at Lin Yunyi and the others. The revenge of exterminating the family is as deep as a sea of blood. If this revenge is not repaid, she will be the eldest miss of the Ling family in vain. As for Lin Yunyi and the others, when they heard Wang Feng's words, their faces suddenly became pale as paper, and their whole bodies were constantly trembling with fear. But to no avail. This pressure suppressed them so tightly that their bodies seemed to be out of control. Lin Yunyi, you destroy my Ling family, have you ever thought about today? You are high above the ground, thinking that you can cover the sky with one hand because you have the identity of the young Marquis of Changlin Haofu, have you ever thought about today? You chased and killed for tens of thousands of miles, teasing me like a cat and mouse, and even more frivolous. Have you ever thought that there would be today? Ling Fiwu roared angrily, her originally mellow voice like a yellow warbler became hoarse at this moment, and the entire body was filled with amazing killing intent. If it wasn't for Lin Yunyi's intention to tease her and take pleasure in torturing her, how could she have been able to support her to this day, having been captured by Lin Yunyi long ago? Now that the roles of the two sides have been exchanged, it can be said that the reincarnation of the heavens, one for another. Ling Fiwu picked up a branch from the ground, inserted it into Lin Yunyi's heart fiercely, pulled it out again, and inserted it again. The blood surged and infected Lin Yunyi's robe. At this time, Ling Fiwu didn't seem to be as gentle and elegant as a woman should be. Instead, like a madman, she frantically waved the branches in her hands, as if she wanted to vent the anger and hatred in her heart. At this scene, Li Qing, who was behind Wang Feng, was shocked. He did not expect that this beautiful and fairy-like junior sister would have such a crazy scene. Forget it, let her vent. Looking at this scene, Wang Feng sighed and retracted the words he wanted to stop. Gradually, Lin Yun's eyes were no longer in focus, and he fell straight to the ground. Seeing this, Ling Fiwu pulled out the branches and killed them one by one under the terrified eyes of Lin Yunyi's subordinates. This was a powerhouse that was powerful enough to be powerful in some small cities in the Shining Sun Empire, but at this moment, like an ant, he was easily killed. After killing Lin Yunyi and others, Ling Fiwu calmed down a bit, then walked to Wang Feng and Ye Gukan, knelt down on one knee, and respectfully said, "Thank you Sect Master and Elder Ye for helping Fiwu to avenge this blood revenge. I have no regrets in this life." Entering the immortal sect, life is the person of the immortal sect, and death is the soul of the immortal sect. Ling Fiwu originally thought that she could escape with her life, but it was a fluke, and she didn't dare to imagine that she could take revenge for this revenge, but she didn't expect that she had just joined the immortal sect, and the sect master directly helped her to kill the first evil. She believed that as long as she stayed in the immortal sect and practiced diligently, one day, she would be able to wash the Marquis of Changlin with blood and avenge the Ling family. Although Lin Yunyi, the young prince, is the most evil, without the indication of Changlin Haofu, how would Lin Yunyi dare to easily destroy the famous Ling family? Father, mother, uncles, Fiwu is fortunate to meet the suzerain Wang Feng, and can join the Shenxian sect. I hope that your true spirits will not be destroyed, and you can bless Fiwu's cultivation and avenge this revenge. Seeing Fiwu kneeling in front of him, Wang Feng sighed lightly and stretched out his hand to help Fiwu up. This girl should not have suffered such a deep hatred at such a young age. How could he just sit back and ignore it when he met him? Ding! Congratulations to Ling Fiwu, a disciple of the sect, for killing a strong general in the profound general realm and obtaining 300 sect points. Ding! Congratulations to Ling Fiwu, a disciple of the sect, for killing a strong general in the profound general realm and obtaining 300 sect points. Ding! After Ling Fiwu killed Lin Yunyi and others, the cold voice of the system continued to sound in Wang Feng's mind, but Wang Feng ignored it for the time being, and looked at Ling Fiwu with a serious face. This sect can give you a good training platform. Whether you can become a real powerhouse depends on you in the end, but you remember that since you have joined my immortal sect, then your back is my immortal sect. Your reliance is on my immortal sect. My immortal sect is not afraid of anyone. There is a blood feud, even if it is a great person, it must be killed and then hurry up. Hearing Wang Feng's words, Fei Wu did not speak, but a warm current flashed in his heart. After the Ling family was exterminated, this one had just joined the immortal sect for less than an hour, and this sect master who had just known each other for less than an hour. But made her have a deep belonging and dependence. You are practicing swordsmanship. But at this moment, Ye Gukan, who was as arrogant as an iceberg, lightly opened his teeth and looked at Fiwu with a pair of sharp eyes. Yes, Elder Ye. Ling Fiwu didn't dare to be negligent, and said quickly, compared to Wang Feng's gentle approach, the arrogant Ye Gukan made her a little scared. Of course, she was more respectful than fearful. If not Ye Gukan with the help of the elders, she couldn't easily kill Lin Yunyi and others. Would you like to worship me as your teacher? When Yekuken's voice sounded, not only Ling Fiwu was shocked, but even Wang Feng was speechless at the moment. After summoning Yekuken, although Wang Feng was pleasantly surprised, he did not expect Yekuken to help him cultivate disciples of the immortal sect. After all, Yekuken's arrogance was famous. But now, this arrogant Yekuken actually took the initiative to accept apprentices? Seeing Fei Wu, who was still stunned, Wang Feng was in a hurry, and hurriedly shouted, "Why are you hesitating? It's even more difficult to get someone like Yekuken to take the initiative to accept apprentices. This girl is still standing dumbfounded. Meet Master." Hearing Wang Feng's shout, Ling Fiwu also reacted, and hurriedly knelt down and kowtowed, and directly did the apprentice salute, for fear that Yekuken would refuse. Yekuken nodded, and with a light wave, a soft force swept across and lifted Ling Fiwu up. Such a scene made Li Qing, who was behind Wang Feng, envious. Yekuken's strength had been seen with his own eyes. Even if he didn't know what Lin Yunyi and the others' profound general state represented in the cultivation world, but to suppress 7 cultivators so easily, in the eyes of immortal Li Qing, that was already a very powerful existence. How could he not envy this woman who entered the school later than him and worshipped such a strong person? Come with me and heal you. After that, Yekuken glanced at the miserable Ling Fiwu and said, without waiting for Ling Fiwu to answer, turned around and walked towards the thatched cottage. Seeing this, Ling Fiwu glanced at Wang Feng, and after getting Wang Feng's signal, she dragged her aching body and left with Yekuken. Looking at the backs of the two leaving, Wang Feng nodded with satisfaction, and received the guidance of the sword Yekuken. He was looking forward to how far Ling Fiwu could grow. Sect Master, then I'm leaving too. A naive voice planned Wang Feng's thoughts. He glanced at Li Qing, waved his hand and said, "You should reduce your figure, go, clean up around the thatched hut and clean it up, this is the residence of my immortal sect." Yes. Hearing this, Li Qing twitched the corners of his mouth and said helplessly, he suddenly felt that after Ling Fiwu, a junior sister, came, he would not be taken seriously. Previously, in order to recruit him, the sect master was a hype, and he regarded him as a treasure. Same, now, just send him to sweep the floor. System, what is the use of sect value? After Li Qing left, Wang Feng's eyes flashed slightly, and he asked. He wanted to ask just now, but in that case, it is not suitable to ask at all. Now, I can finally understand it well. He has an intuition that this sect value will be the key to his development of the immortal sect. Ding! The sect value allows the host to exchange for a lottery chance, and the 1000 sect value allows the host to exchange for a lottery opportunity. In addition, the sect value can also upgrade the system, and the 10,000 sect value can upgrade the system to the second level. When the system is upgraded to the second level, the sect level will also be automatically upgraded to the second level. Hearing the cold voice in his mind, Wang Feng nodded and continued, what's the use of raising the system level and the sect level? Ding! The system level upgrade will allow the host to summon stronger powerhouses and divine weapons, etc. In addition, the increase in the level of the sect will unlock more sects to accommodate the number of disciples, and the host can check the attributes panel of the gods. Explore the Shengxianzong attribute panel. Wang Feng did not hesitate to hear the system's words, and said directly, he didn't expect that there was also a Shengxianzong attribute panel. Ding! The Shengxianzong attribute panel is as follows: Sect, Immortal Sect level, First Class Sovereign, only Wang Feng, into the phase, Elder, up to 5 Yekuken, the peak of the princely realm, Disciples, up to 10 Li Qing, Mortal, Ling Fiwu, the peak of the psychic realm, Zongmen Station, Small World. System, if the sect level has not improved, can it break through the upper limit? Seeing the Immortal Sect attribute panel, Wang Feng immediately frowned and asked. No, please also ask the host to work hard to obtain the sect value, improve the system level and the sect level. The cold voice that sounded in his mind made Wang Feng's face flash with a hint of helplessness. With such a restriction, he must continue to obtain sect value. The first release of this book comes from 17K Novel Network, so watch the genuine content for the first time. Wang Feng's eyes flickered slightly, and he asked secretly, what are the ways to obtain sect value? Whether it is to summon stronger powers or to expand the immortal sect, he must continue to obtain the sect value. Wang Feng believes that one day, he will be able to make the immortal sect the only pure land in this cultivation world, so that all sects in this world worship him. Ding! The first way to get the sect value is, by completing the task released by the system, you can get the sect value randomly. The more difficult the system task is, the more sect value you will get. Second way to get the sect value, kill the incoming enemy. The stronger the enemy killed, the more sect value you will get. The third way to get sect value, recruit top geniuses or peerless powerhouses with special abilities, join the immortal sect, and you can also get sect points. The cold voice that sounded in his mind made Wang Feng immediately understand, but he did not expect that there are quite a few ways to obtain sect value. That's not right, system. Ling Fiwu cultivated to the peak of the psychic realm at the age of 18 or 19. How can he be considered a top genius? Suddenly, Wang Feng seemed to think of something, and suddenly said. Although Wang Feng came to this world a few days ago, and he didn't know much about cultivation, he still knew how difficult it was to cultivate to the peak of the psychic realm at the age of 18 or 19. In this cultivation world, ordinary people usually build foundations at the age of 10, and then start to cultivate. Even though Ling Fiwu is the eldest miss of the Ling family, at best, 14 or 5 years of cultivation is already in the sky. Reaching the peak of the psychic realm is already considered a genius among geniuses. Ding! Although Ling Fiwu's qualifications are good, he has no special physique or comprehension of artistic conception, and has not reached the ranks of the top talents. The cold voice that sounded in his mind shocked Wang Feng, but Ling Fiwu was not considered a top talent? Damn, is the threshold for top talent so high? System, let's see, is this host considered a top talent? Wang Feng deliberately emphasized the word host. He is also in the phase of the phase, and he is only about 20 years old. At this age, what is the matter? It can be regarded as a supreme genius, even if his cultivation base is promoted by empowerment. It's barely. Yes, no, what does it mean? Wang Feng's face changed slightly, and he said solemnly. The host's own qualifications are ordinary, but because he is the master of the system, all of them can be called arrogance. Hearing this, Wang Feng suddenly had black lines all over his head, hesitant, are you complimenting him? After thinking about it, Wang Feng asked secretly, how about Li Qing's qualifications? Although Li Qing is only a mortal at the moment, he is the first disciple of the immortal sect after all. It is related to the face of his immortal sect. He needs to understand it well in order to make a plan for Li Qing to become stronger. Senior brother is not as strong as the disciples of other sects when he goes out, so how can his immortal sect let the world's major sects look up to him? Ding! To investigate Li Qing's qualifications, it takes 100 points of sect value. May I ask the host to investigate? Heck, it's really dark. To probe a mortal, you need 100 sect points? Investigate. Despite the pain, Wang Feng said without hesitation. Ding! Disciple Li Qing, ranks among the most evil spirits. Depend on. Did something go wrong? Just the dead fat man, who can breathe heavily when he walks, can he rank among the top evildoers? Hearing the cold voice resounding in his mind, Wang Feng's face was filled with disbelief, and he was so shocked that he let out a foul language. This system can't go wrong. Disciple Li Qing has the body of a mysterious turtle, but it hasn't been activated yet. Hearing this, Wang Feng was stunned for a moment. The first disciple he accepted, he wanted to make up the number, but unexpectedly found a treasure. What is the body of the Xianling turtle immortal? The body of the Xianling turtle immortal is the world's top special physique, with 2 abilities of absolute defense and absolute lifespan. As long as the body of the Xianling tortoise and immortal Dachshund is not killed, the world is old and he is not old, all things are withered and he is eternal, his lifespan is endless, and his defense is extremely strong, even if the world is broken, he can still be at ease. Hiss! The sound of the system resounding in his mind made Wang Feng take a deep breath, his pupils widened a lot, he did not expect that the dead fat man Li Qing would have such a terrifying physique, as long as he cultivated the body of the mysterious turtle. To Dachshund, it is almost an immortal existence. The only disadvantage is that it can be killed, but the mysterious body of the mysterious turtle has a terrifying defensive power, which is enough to ensure its own safety. Perhaps the attack power is not so strong, but with its endless lifespan, it depends on the cultivation base. Can crush the opponent to death. System: what is the method to activate Li Qingxuan's spirit turtle immortal body? Thinking of this, Wang Feng restrained his excitement and asked. He had already made up his mind to train Li Qing no matter what. At this moment, when Wang Feng looked at Li Qing who was trying to sweep the floor in the distance, he was full of enthusiasm. Be beaten. Hearing the simple voice in his mind, Wang Feng was stunned. The activation of the mysterious spirit turtle immortal's body is to be beaten. With uninterrupted external blows, it continuously stimulates the blood of the mysterious spirit turtle immortal body in its body, and activates it, so that the mysterious spirit turtle immortal body can be completely awakened. After receiving the explanation from the system, Wang Feng laughed immediately. If he were to find some peerless treasure to activate Li Qing's mysterious spirit turtle immortal body, he might not be able to do it for the time being, but he would be beaten? Isn't that easy? Wang Feng has even thought of a series of plans to activate Li Qing's physique, for example, let Ling Fiwu and Li Qing practice against each other. Another example, as a sandbag for him to temper his own strength. As long as Li Qing is not killed, with the horror of his mysterious tortoise immortal body, I am afraid that he will be safe, right? Li Qing, who was sweeping the floor in front of the thatched hut, tightened his clothes. For some reason, he felt an inexplicable chill at the moment. He shook his body and quickened his movements to reduce the chill on his body. Not bad. Wang Feng glanced at Li Qing in the distance, and nodded with satisfaction. He was originally worried that Li Qing, the senior brother, could not bear the status of the senior brother of the Shengxianzong. Now it seems that his worries are unnecessary. With Li Qing's terrifying physique and his training, Wang Feng can even imagine what kind of storms Li Qing will create in this Xianlan continent in the future. Buzz! Just when Wang Feng sighed with satisfaction, the surrounding void suddenly trembled slightly, causing Wang Feng to frown and look at the thatched cottage. His eyes lit up in an instant. Although he doesn't know much about cultivation, he is also a master of the phase entry realm at this moment. How can he not see the reason for the abnormality at the moment? He didn't expect that Ye Guqin was helping Ling Fiwu to heal, and even let Ling Fiwu break through. I saw that at this moment, with the whole thatched hut as the center, the mysterious energy in the surrounding heaven and earth gathered crazily towards the thatched hut, and above the thatched hut, a huge mysterious vortex like a vortex was formed. Li Qing, who was sweeping the floor on the side, ran to Wang Feng's side in shock, and said in horror, "Sect Master, what happened?" "Don't worry, junior sister Fiwu has made a breakthrough and is in a state of promotion." Wang Feng waved his hand and chuckled. Hearing this, Li Qing was no longer shocked, but there was a hint of envy in his eyes. When the younger sister entered the immortal sect, she not only worshipped the supremely strong elder Yet as her master, but also broke through her cultivation. He is still immortal. Thinking of this, Li Qing's expression dimmed a lot. He felt that if he continued like this, his identity as a senior brother might be lost. Don't be discouraged, it's not impossible for you to cultivate in Japan's religion. Over time, it's not impossible for you to surpass your junior sister Fiwu, as long as you can bear it. Wang Feng glanced at Li Qing with deep meaning and murmured. "Thank you, Sect Master, don't worry, Li Qing can stand it." Hearing Wang Feng's words, Li Qing's eyes flashed with surprise, and he quickly patted his chest to assure. Seeing Li Qing in this state, Wang Feng smiled and didn't say much. He suddenly looked forward to Li Qing's future performance. When Wang Feng and Li Qing were talking, a terrifying profound energy storm had already formed over the entire thatched cottage, shaking the surrounding void. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. For Wang Feng, who doesn't know much about cultivation, he doesn't know that when he breaks through, the shock of heaven and earth is very easy for the strong to perceive. While Wang Feng and Li Qing were waiting for Ling Fiwu to break through, a stream of light flashed in vain 500 miles away from this valley. The streamer landed on a small hillside, revealing his appearance. It was a burly middle-aged man in a blood robe. There was a mysterious pattern on his face, which made him extremely terrifying. "Shishi, I didn't expect that this demon would be able to get a ration of a mysterious general just after waking up. I haven't felt the deliciousness of the ration for a long time. I really look forward to it." A gloomy smile came from the middle-aged man's mouth. He slept for hundreds of years. As soon as he woke up, rations were delivered to his door. His luck was really good. "Let's wait for this person to break through, and then it will be delicious enough. It is also your honor to be able to become the ration of this demon." The middle-aged man looked up in the direction of the valley with a pair of scarlet eyes, and smiled lightly. Boom! When the voice fell, the blood-robed middle-aged man stomped his foot, turned into a stream of light, and galloped away in the direction of the valley, and the hillside under his feet exploded directly under his foot, turning into rolling broken stones and falling. The middle-aged man in the blood robe is a little high-spirited at the moment. He can't wait to try the delicious food. He is a dignified demon. Demons means. In the eyes of the blood-robed middle-aged man, the mysterious general state that was about to break through was already the food in his mouth, and no one could it away from him. Whoever dared to it would only have a dead end. He even expected someone come to stop him, so he can get a few more rations. The first release of this book comes from 17K Novel Network, so watch the genuine content for the first time. While waiting for Ling Fiwu to break through, Wang Feng was not idle either. He secretly said, "System, spend 1,000 sects worth a lottery." At first, Ling Fiwu killed Lin Yun and the other 7 people, which gave him a total of 1,200 sect points. It cost him 100 points to investigate Li Qing's qualifications. He still had 1,110 sect points, which he just brought. Lottery. Today, his immortal sect is in vain. Although there is Yegukan, a peak powerhouse of the princely realm, it is not a problem to rely on Yegukan alone. We can only draw a lottery to see if we can get any treasures or Yegukan. The martial arts, come to improve yourself. Ding! The host spends 1,000 sects to draw a lottery. Congratulations to the host for getting a random summon opportunity. When he heard the cold voice in his mind, Wang Feng was stunned for a moment, and then there was a look of joy on his face. Luckily, he even got a summoning opportunity, and he said directly, "System, use the summoning opportunity." Ding! Congratulations to the host for summoning the sword god Ximenchuixu. May I ask the host to check the attribute panel of Ximenchuixu? Check. The cold voice sounded in his mind. Wang Feng was shocked and excited. He didn't expect to summon Yegukan's only opponent in his life, Ximenchuixu. If Yegukan is the fairy in the sword, then Ximenchuixu is the sword in the sword. God, both of them are sincere and sincere towards swords, and they have reached the point where they only have swords in their hearts. If it weren't for the checks and balances of the martial arts world, the kendo qualifications of Yegukan and Ximenchuixu would not be limited to this. Wang Feng had some expectations. In this cultivation world that could allow them to improve to the fullest, these two swordsmen were immortals. To what extent can it be achieved? Ding! Ximenchuixu attribute panel is as follows: Name, Zimenchuixu cultivation, Midstage Suan Huangjing profound skill, Huiguang Kendo, peak of imperial grade, Xianbing, Wuziao, the peak of the emperor. When he saw Zimenchuixu's attribute panel, Wang Feng was amazed. In his opinion, Zimenchuixu was on a par with Yegukan, and Yegukan was even better than Zimenchuixu. After all, at the time of the decisive battle at the top of the Forbidden City, Yegukan's flying fairy can kill Zimenchuixu. The reason why he died under Zimenchuixu is that Yegukan already had the will to die, and entrusted his kendo glory to Zimenchuixu, creating the myth of the Night of the Full Moon, the top of the Forbidden City, and the sword Zhu Jianxian. The puzzled Wang Feng asked, "System, it stands to reason that Yegukan should be stronger than Zimenchuixu." Ding! The Zimenchuixu summoned this time is Zimenchuixu, who is truly accomplished in swordsmanship after the decisive battle at the top of the Forbidden City. After this battle, Zimenchuixu's swordsmanship has reached a new level, and he has reached the point where he has no sword in his heart. His people are swords, as long as his people are there, all things in the world can be swords. The pinnacle of Kendo. Hearing the explanation of the system, Wang Feng suddenly realized that if this is the case, then it is excusable. Not bad, now his immortal sect also has Xianhuang realm masters in charge. After that, Wang Feng nodded with satisfaction. The masters of the Xianhuang realm were the most outstanding in the entire Yaori Empire. Except for the royal family of the Yaori Empire, there were very few Xianhuang realm existences. Buzz! It was at this moment that the sky above the thatched hut, which was originally flickering with amazing visions, slowly calmed down, and the huge vortex of profound energy rushed into the thatched hut at this moment. The breath emanated from the thatched cottage. Feeling the breath of this mysterious general, Wang Feng nodded with satisfaction. From the breath alone, he could detect that Ling Fiwu's foundation was very strong. Ding! Congratulations to the disciple Ling Fiwu of the Hosts Sect for breaking through to the Xianzhong realm, and rewarded with 1,000 points of sect value. This wave is not bad. The cold voice that sounded in his mind made Wang Feng smile even more. When Wang Feng was excited, Yegukan brought Ling Fiwu to appear in front of Wang Feng. At this moment, Ling Fiwu was also very excited. She came to Wang Feng, bowed respectfully to Wang Feng, and said loudly, "Thank you Sect Master for giving you the opportunity to fly. If there is no Wang Feng, if there is no Yegukan, if there is no Zhengxianzong, she is already dead now, how can she reach the current level of cultivation?" At this moment, in Ling Fiwu's heart, she has completely regarded the Immortal Sect as her home, and she has lived for the Immortal Sect in her entire life. I thought that after the collapse of the Ling family, her heart was dead. I never thought that this immortal sect, this sect master, this master, activated her heart again, making her full of hope for the future. Follow Elder Ye well. In the future, this sect hopes that you can carry forward the name of my immortal sect. Seeing Ling Fiwu's attitude, Wang Feng nodded with satisfaction and said, "Yes, sect master. Gukan, in a moment, your old friend will come." Then Wang Feng glanced at Yegukan with deep meaning and said softly, "Hum." Hearing Wang Feng's words, Yegukan's originally arrogant eyes instantly shone brightly, the long sword in his hand trembled, and the whole person showed a touch of fighting intent. "Shishi, I thought that there was only one profound general realm ration, but I didn't expect that there were still a few ants, but it was barely enough to eat." At this moment, an extremely arrogant and gloomy voice resounded in the valley, causing Wang Feng to frown and look around, while Yegukan beside him also stood with a sword in his hand. The long sword in his hand was light. Trembling. Under the gazes of Wang Feng and others, a burly figure in a blood robe suddenly appeared over the valley, exuding an air of arrogance and arrogance. Even if there was no power fluctuation on his body, it still made Wang Feng feel the huge pressure. He could feel that there was an extremely terrifying power in this person's body, as if this power burst out, it could slap him into a meat pie, which made Wang Feng a little nervous. "System, probe this person." Ding! just to investigate the cultivation base, it will cost 10 sect points, and to explore its complete origin, it will cost 100 sect points. The cold voice that sounded in his mind made Wang Feng stunned for a moment, and then said without hesitation, "Spend 100 sects to find out its complete origin." As the saying goes, knowing oneself and knowing one's enemy will not be in danger in 100 battles. This person put so much pressure on him that Wang Feng did not dare to neglect him. He even felt that Ye Guqin might not be able to defeat this person. Therefore, it is better to know all about him. Ding! This person is the great demon who ravaged the Yaori Empire 1,000 years ago, the great demon of Suansha. His cultivation has reached the peak of the Xianhuang realm. However, he fought against the Yaori Empire 1,000 years ago and was defeated by the Yaori Empire defeat. Although he did not die, he was severely injured, and was sealed by the great emperor of the Sunshine Empire, and the seal has just been broken, and his cultivation base is only at the peak of the princely realm. The cold voice in his mind made Wang Feng sweat coldly. He did not expect to encounter such a terrifying existence inexplicably. Fortunately, this demon is not at the peak. Otherwise, I am afraid that Ximenchuixu will not be able to hold this person. The pinnacle, in this blazing sun empire, is the real figure at the top of the pyramid. But now, although Wang Feng is a little nervous, he doesn't panic anymore. Although the peak of the princely realm is strong, Ye Guqin next to him can also compete with him. Coupled with the upcoming Ximenchuixu, it is more than enough to suppress this demon. He likes the thing about beating the reservoir dog the most. Who are you to commit a crime against my immortal sect? Why don't you get out of the way? Otherwise, Elder Ye of my immortal sect will let you die without a place to be buried. At this time, Li Qing, who was behind Wang Feng, took a step in vain and shouted angrily at the great demon of Suansha. At this moment, Li Qing's nostrils turned to the sky, and his arrogant attitude was even worse than that of the great demon of Suansha. He didn't even know how strong the great demon Suansha was. In his opinion, Ye Guqin was able to kill the 7 terrifying powerhouses before. This person must be no problem. So, it is naturally time for him to show. After all, he is also a senior brother of the immortal sect, but he can't let his junior sisters specialize in beauty. Although he is still immortal for the time being, he is the best at scolding the street. However, what Li Qing didn't know was that after his words fell, Wang Feng, the sect master of the immortal sect, was stunned. Wang Feng looked at Li Qing with an incredible look on his face. For the first time, he knew that he had accepted the first prize. A disciple who has such courage, as a mere mortal, Yuganshu www.yuganshu.com cursed at the powerhouse at the peak of the princely realm. Even Ye Guqin showed a surprised look for the first time and glanced at Li Qing. Feeling the gazes of Wang Feng and Ye Guqin, Li Qing suddenly became even more proud. In his opinion, this was the recognition of the sect master and elder Yat. Yat, I really don't know whether to live or die, kneel down and lead to death. Not to mention, although Li Qing is immortal, the momentum that broke out at this moment is still full. Senior brother, this person's aura is no weaker than that of a master. Ling Fiwu, who was beside him, couldn't stand it any longer, and gently tugged at the corner of Li Qing's clothes and whispered. At this moment, Ling Fiwu has already reached the realm of profound generals, so she may not be able to find out the power of the great demon of Suansha, but she can still do it by comparison. She can feel that this person is on a par with her master. Master is a strong man at the peak of the princely realm, so this person is at least in the princely realm, and even like the master, reaching the peak of the princely realm, Ling Fiwu can feel it. After this person appeared, Master Ye Guqin revealed that it gave off a different aura than before. It was a gesture that was only available in the face of a powerful enemy. What do you mean? Li Qing was a little confused, turned his head blankly, and asked in a low voice. It's that this person's cultivation level is at least the princely realm, or even the same cultivation level as the master. Hearing Ling Fiwu's words, Li Qing's legs softened and he almost fell to the ground. If it wasn't for Ling Fiwo's pull, he would have already knelt on the ground. Mom, he even cursed at a strong man who was at least a prince. Shishi, immortal sect? What kind of sect came out of the lump? This demon has never heard of it, but you are interesting, although you are an ant, but you have such courage, it is worth savoring carefully by this demon. The first release of this book comes from 17K Novel Network, so watch the genuine content for the first time. Despite being reprimanded by Li Qing, the great demon Suanxia did not get angry, but looked at Li Qing with a playful face. Facing his own rations, the great demon Suanxia had a very high tolerance and was sealed. For so long, it's also a fun thing to tease the ants. Hearing the words of the great demon Suanxia, Li Qing's body became even softer, and his legs were shaking. He could not wait to slap himself, but he wanted to show it, but he showed it in the ditch. The great demon of Suanxia, this sect advises you to leave. It is not easy to break the seal. Don't offend the people you shouldn't offend. Wang Feng ignored Li Qing, but narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at the great demon of Suanxia. Said solemnly, "Oh? Do you know this demon?" Wang Feng's voice immediately attracted the attention of the great demon Suanxia, with a look of surprise on his face, and jokingly said, he did not expect that he would be sealed for 1,000 years, and there were still people who knew him. The great demon Suanxia that ravaged the Shining Sun Empire 1,000 years ago. How could this sect not know? Wang Feng smiled slightly and said indifferently, that detached temperament made the great demon Suanxia look sideways. As soon as Wang Feng's voice fell, Ling Fiwu who was pulling Li Qing's body trembled, and there was a look of panic in her eyes. She might not know the prestige of the great demon of Suanxia, but she knew great demon Shat, or in other words, the entire Shining Sun Empire. As long as there are practitioners, no one does not know the prestige of great demon of Xian Shat. Thousands of years ago, the great demon of Suanxia ravaged the entire Yaori Empire, causing the Yaori Empire to fall into darkness for a time. If it hadn't finally forced the Emperor Yaori to seal it by himself, then the Yaori Empire might not still exist at this moment. Ling Fiwu didn't expect that this great demon actually broke the seal of Emperor Yaori and appeared in their immortal sect. She glanced at Yegukan, and there was a flash of worry in her heart, and she didn't know if the master could block this one. Terrible monster! Ling Fiwu knew very well that the great demon of Suanxia was at the pinnacle of the Xianhuang realm, and it was a big realm higher than her master. Even if she was sealed and her strength declined, it was not comparable to the ordinary princely realm. Since you know this demon, are you not afraid? There was a sinister smile on the face of the great demon Xian Cha, and the magic pattern that spanned the entire face was even more trembling, giving people an extremely terrifying feeling. Why are you afraid of this sect? If you dare to move, this sect will let you experience the feeling of being crushed again. Wang Feng grinned and said without fear. It was revealed unabashedly. Ha ha ha, it's ridiculous, it's ridiculous. The ants don't know how high the sky is, and the arrogance is higher than the sky. This demon will let you know what is the power that is as high as the sky. Hearing Wang Feng's words, the great demon Suanxia looked up to the sky and laughed. The terrifying and gloomy laughter resounded throughout the world. Then, he suddenly looked at Wang Feng, and there was a sharp flash in his eyes. Up, a terrifying power erupted in vain, as if a peerless beast had awakened. Boom! The terrifying power that erupted from the great demon of Suanxia instantly swept the whole world. The terrifying storm crushed the surrounding trees, causing the whole world to be filled with smoke and dust, a huge pressure, and even more than it came to Wang Feng and others. Buzz! When the terrifying power was about to fall on Wang Feng, Yegukan's figure appeared in front of Wang Feng in an instant. The terrifying power of the great demon Sha was cut in half, and the sharp sword intent made great demon Xian Sha's pupils shrink. The peak of the princely realm. Rao is the great demon of Suanxia, and his heart is shocked at this moment. He didn't expect that there is still a strong man at the peak of the princely realm hidden in this valley. A lion appeared. Moreover, the great demon Suancha can clearly feel that Yekukan is not an ordinary peak powerhouse of the princely realm, and even he is a little frightened by his sharp-edged and terrifying sword intent. Just like this, it can't stop this demon, but the strength of your little sect surprised this demon. The big demon Suancha suppressed the shock in his heart, looked at Wang Feng, and joked. After all, he is also the power of the peak of the Xianhuang realm. Even if the cultivation base is not there now, only the peak of the princely realm, but how could he be afraid of Yekukan? Boom! After the voice of the great demon Suancha fell, a dark fog suddenly erupted from his body. This dark fog formed a huge claw in an instant, and then grabbed it towards Yekukan, terrifying. The claws covered the sky, making the entire valley dim, and the powerful pressure made the entire void distorted with the naked eye. Although he felt that Yekukan's strength was quite powerful, the great demon Suancha still tried to test it. Only when he really knew Yekukan's strength could he choose his attitude towards this little sect. After all, he has just broken the seal at this moment. If the disturbance is too great and is perceived by the mortal enemy, then his situation will not be good. Buzz! Facing the terrifying claws of the great demon Suancha, Yekukan's eyes narrowed slightly, and a sword stance rushing towards the sky rose up from his body in vain. Sharp! He gently pulled the flying rainbow, and a flash of sword light flashed in an instant, like a long rainbow, slashing towards the huge claw, and the permeating edge on it directly tore the void, revealing long and narrow voids. Boom! Under the nervous gazes of Ling Fiwu and Li Qing, two terrifying offensives collided in an instant, and a powerful wave of power swept away in all directions, crushing everything in the entire valley into shreds. Even the mountain is directly cracked. The only thing that remains intact is the thatched hut built by Wang Feng himself. This thatched hut looks ordinary, but when Wang Feng set the entrance of the small world sect station in this thatched hut, the thatched hut was already there. Under the protection of the small world sect station. Not to mention the battle between the two peak kings, even a stronger existence cannot shake it. However, the great demon Suancha did not notice these small details. His scarlet eyes stared at the sword beam, and his heart shook. At this moment, that sword light had already broken his blow and galloped towards him, although after breaking his blow, the power of the sword light had gradually dissipated, and even in front of him, he disappeared without a trace, but it still surprised the great demon Suancha. The blow just now, although not all of his strength, is at least 80% of his strength. This kind of strength cannot be resisted by a normal peak of princely realm, even a slightly stronger peak of princely realm. But Yekukan was able to easily defeat his attack. It is conceivable that Yekukan's strength was already invincible under Emperor Xian. I didn't expect this little valley to hide people like your excellency. After the big demon Suancha failed, he withdrew his hand and stared at Yekukan with a pair of scarlet eyes. Sound. Although he can still use stronger means, and he is even sure to kill Yekukan, but he does not dare to shoot with all his strength. Once he shoots with all his strength, the old guy will definitely be able to detect that he has broken the seal. At that time, he can only fled. It's not worth it to put yourself in such a big danger for a few rations. Yekukan didn't speak, he still stood with his sword in his arms, and the whole person was extremely arrogant, like a divine sword that surpassed the world. On the contrary, Wang Feng, who was beside Yekukan, had a glint in his eyes, and he whispered to Yekukan, "Can you hold this demon for a while?" From the words of the great demon Suancha, Wang Feng had already heard the demon's intention to retreat, but Wang Feng did not want the great demon of Suancha to retreat like this. Now that he has offended him, he can only leave. He is not worried about Shengxianzong and himself. What he is worried about is that after the disciples of Shengxianzong go out to practice and get revenge by this great demon, it is better to cut the grass and root it. As long as Ximenchuixu appears, you reading www. With Ximenchuixu's cultivation base and powerful combat power, yuyuganshu.com is no problem to suppress this demon. Hearing Wang Feng's words, Yegukin did not answer, but the sword force exuding from his body was even more terrifying and terrifying. Boom! Just when Yegukin was about to take hold of the great demon of Suanxia, a lingering sword force emerged from the void in vain. Pierced his body. Just when the sword force pierced through the great demon of the mysterious temple, a figure wearing a white robe and carrying a long sword with an ancient black sheath suddenly appeared in the void. When this person first appeared, the whole world was filled with an air of loneliness. His came together to form a sword, and a drop of blood floated on his fingertips. He flicked it lightly, and the drop of blood immediately seeped into the ground and disappeared without a trace. After this action, his pale face as white as paper was revealed. In his eyes, there is endless loneliness. When this person appeared, Yegukin raised a fierce fighting spirit in vain, and his sword was constantly shaking. He stared at the figure with a pair of eyes. At this moment, in Yegukin's eyes, in this world, there are no other people, only that figure. Wait until you break through the Emperor Xian, and fight again. The figure sensed Yegukin's sword intent, and a light appeared in his lonely eyes, he said softly. When his voice fell, Yegukin's sword momentum suddenly subsided, he took a deep look at the figure, and then fell silent. I have seen the sect master, Ximen is late. Then, the figure moved slightly, appeared in front of Wang Feng, and nodded towards Wang Feng. The first release of this book comes from 17K Novel Network, so watch the genuine content for the first time. At this moment, Ling Fiwu, who was behind Wang Feng, saw the figure appearing in front of Wang Feng. The cherry-red mouth was slightly open, and the pretty face was full of shock. At least one was at the princely realm at the moment, and it was at the peak of the Xianhuang realm at its peak. Great demon, can you be pierced so easily? What kind of immortal sect did she join? The immortal sect is worthy of the name immortal sect. In the extreme shock, Ling Fiwu was also agitated in her heart. She didn't expect that she accidentally joined a hidden sect. Wang Feng looked at Ximen Chuixu who appeared in front of him, with a smile on his face, and quickly said, Elder Ximen is here at the right time. Wang Feng himself did not expect that Ximen Chuixu was so strong that he didn't even react to the sword flash just now. Ximen Chuixu is indeed a sword god. How is that possible? How can there be a mysterious emperor in this place? Not far away, the great demon Suanxia, clutching the sword wound on his chest, murmured in disbelief that at this moment he no longer had the arrogant posture he had before, and the blood infecting his chest made him look extremely embarrassed. The great demon of Suanxia originally thought that there could be a peak of the princely realm in this place. The blow from Ximen Chuixu just now, even he, the former peak of the Xianhuang realm, couldn't react. They may not be able to defeat Ximen Chuixu. Could it be that he somehow provoked the ancient hidden world sect? Otherwise, in the most fringe area of the Xinjiao Mountains, how could there be a powerhouse at the level of the Xianhuang realm? This sect gives you two choices: 1. Join my immortal sect, 2. This sect will let Elder Ximen and Elder Ye besiege you. After Ximen Chuixu appeared, Wang Feng's waist straightened immediately, and he looked at him with a face. The cloudy and sunny great demon of Suanxia said indifferently. For the so-called righteousness and demons in the cultivation world, Wang Feng has always been dismissive. There has never been absolute righteousness and absolute demons. Some people are positive on the surface, but secretly they are more demons than demons, while some people, he looks like a demon, but he has his own perseverance in his heart. This big demon of the mysterious temple seems to be arrogant, but his performance is quite satisfactory, and there is no special performance that breaks through the details. Of course, it is also possible that he did not see it. But Wang Feng doesn't care either. If this great demon of Suanxia is really the great demon who was angry and resentful that day, after earning his sect value to join the immortal sect, it would be too late to kill him. If not, his immortal sect would be able to add more. A master at the peak of the princely realm who was at the peak of the Xianhuang realm, why not do it? You are shameless. Hearing Wang Feng's words, the face of the great demon Suancha changed, glaring at Wang Feng, shouting loudly, a pair of scarlet eyes staring at Wang Feng, and his body was full of killing intent. His dignified Suancha great demon, the existence of the entire Shining Sun Empire 1,000 years ago, was forced to such a degree? Even the old opponent, the great Emperor Yaori, the lord of the Yaori Empire, did not have the ability. At this moment, the great demon of Suancha felt like he was being bullied by a dog. Moreover, when was the siege said so grandly? Although the weak eat the strong, this cultivation world still has certain rules. Unless it is force majeure, otherwise, they will generally stick to the principles of the way of cultivation. When Wang Feng is not a son of man, the head of a dignified sect, how shameless! Hearing this, Wang Feng smiled without saying a word. He stared directly at the great demon of Suancha, and did not move at all. There were two sword gods standing beside him on the left and the right. Out, while shaking the void, it also shakes the heart of the great demon of Suancha. Seeing the fierce swordsmanship erupted by the two beside Wang Feng, the great demon of Suancha trembled with anger. If it was Yekukan alone, he would be afraid, but he was not afraid. What really scared him was Ximenchuixu. His sword is sharp, and his sword is invisible and invisible. Even he can't perceive the origin of Ximenchuixu's swordsmanship. Just the blow that Ximenchuixu pierced through him just now, the great demon Suancha knows that Ximenchuixu is already a man. When there is no sword in the hand, there is a sword in the heart, and everything can be a sword. This realm can only be understood by existences above the Suanhuangjing realm. This person comprehends such a terrifying swordsmanship in the Suanhuangjing, and his combat power can be called invincible in the Suanhuangjing. Even when he was at his peak, he might not be able to compete with Ximenchuixu, let alone now, once he was besieged by Ximenchuixu and Yekukan, he would definitely die. After all, Yekukan was not an ordinary princely realm. But he was unwilling to let him join the immortal sect like this, especially under Wang Feng's persecution. His dignified Suancha great demon, even if he died, would not be controlled by others. Seeing that the great demon of Suancha gradually filled with a sense of decisiveness, Wang Feng's eyes flashed slightly, and he said again, "This sect knows that you are arrogant. If you don't, you join my immortal sect for a year. If within a year, my immortal sect cannot let you stay willingly, after that year, you can leave at any time." At this moment, Wang Feng's first task is to fool the great demon of Suancha into the immortal sect and earn the sect value of recruiting strong people. Second, to understand whether the great demon of Suancha is really evil, and if it is really evil, he will be attacked. Kill. As for the 1-year appointment, Wang Feng doesn't care at all. If the great demon Suancha is evil, he will not be able to stay for a year. Stay in the immortal sect. He is a man with a system. Hearing Wang Feng's words, the determination of the great demon of Suancha suddenly eased, and his face kept changing. Although Ximenchuixu was terrifying, he was at the peak of the Xianhuang realm after all. Sex is still great. But even if he didn't die under the sword of Ximenchuixu, after he burst out with all his strength, he would definitely be perceived by the old opponent. At that time, after being seriously injured, he would not be able to stop the old opponent at all, and his fate would be worse than joining the immortal sect. To be miserable. Moreover, if it is only 1 year, it seems that it is not unacceptable. Just looking for a place to cultivate with peace of mind and return to the peak? This sect's words have come to this point. If you still don't want to, then let's fight. Wang Feng cast a glance at the great demon of Suancha, and said indifferently. When Wang Feng's voice fell, Yekukan and Ximenchuixu beside him suddenly burst out with a sharp-edged aura, and their respective swords trembled slightly, as if they might be unsheathed and drink blood at any time. Hearing Wang Feng's words and feeling the terrifying swordsmanship of Ximenchuixu, the great demon of Suancha gritted his teeth, as if he wanted to crush the suffocation in his heart, and then he looked at Wang Feng and said helplessly, "This demon wishes join your immortal sect for a year. It was only 1 year, and he could still accept it. As for what Wang Feng said to let him stay in the immortal sect willingly within 1 year, the great demon Suanxia scoffed. It's a joke, he is the dignified profound temple demon, the powerhouse at the peak of the profound emperor realm, and the existence of the entire Shining Sun Empire. How could he be so unwilling? Okay, since you have joined my immortal sect, then within this year, whatever this sect tells you to do, you have to do it, if you can. Of course, if your old rival perceives your existence, within this year, this sect can also help you stop him. Hearing the words of the great demon Suanxia, Wang Feng nodded with satisfaction, then narrowed his eyes slightly, looked at the great demon Suanxia, and said solemnly. The great demon Suanxia nodded. This method is similar to a transaction, and he can still accept it. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully recruiting the great demon Suanxia, obtaining 10,000 Zongmen points, and a random summoning opportunity. At this time, the cold voice in Wang Feng's mind made Wang Feng's whole body tremble, and a look of surprise appeared on his face. He did not expect that the reward for recruiting the great demon of Suanxia to join the immortal sect would be so generous. It seems that if there is a chance in the future, he will still recruit more powerful people. Of course, Wang Feng knows that what the system really looks at is the aptitude for recruiting strong people, not the cultivation base. At this moment, the great demon of the profound temple is at the peak of the princely realm, but he was once at the peak of the Xianhuang realm, making his eyesight and means all the same. Far beyond the peak of the princely realm, the combat power is really not comparable to the peak of the ordinary princely realm. Yu reading www.yuuganchu.com. After thinking about it, Wang Feng temporarily put down the reward, turned his eyes to the great demon of Suanxia, and said indifferently, "What do you mean by rations just now? Now that the reward has been obtained, it is natural to dare to liquidate it. If this demon is really a great demon that endangers the world, Wang Feng, how could he have to get rid of a demon today?" Cough. This is a hobby of this demon. I've only been addicted to my mouth, intimidating and intimidating others, but it's not really eating. Although this demon is a demon, it's not crazy to that extent. Demonic aptitude, you don't need to practice that kind of magic. Hearing Wang Feng's questioning voice, a look of embarrassment appeared on the face of the great demon Suanxia, and he whispered. System, what Xianxia said, is it true? Wang Feng naturally couldn't believe him with the words of the big demon of Xianxia, and asked the system secretly. Real. The cold voice that sounded in his mind made Wang Feng's mouth twitch. He glanced at the great demon of the Xianbra without a word. Ma Dan, you are also a great demon after all. Need to intimidate others to satisfy yourself? How dare such a rude person do such a thing? Feeling Wang Feng's strange gaze, Xianxia tried to keep calm and maintain his identity as a great demon. If he was not afraid of Wang Feng's disgust with eating rations and directly killed him, then he would definitely not be killed. Will tell the truth. When Wang Feng was talking to the great demon Suanxia, Ling Fiwu and Li Qing behind Wang Feng were staring at the stars and looked at Wang Feng with admiration. What is the means of joining the immortal sect with the existence of the princely state? At this moment, in the hearts of Ling Fiwu and Li Qing, Wang Feng's figure has become incomparably stalwart, and they even think that Wang Feng, the suzerain, is the real boss. The first release of this book comes from 17K Novel Network, so watch the genuine content for the first time. After getting to know the great demon of Suanxia a little bit, Wang Feng didn't intend to continue to understand it anymore. A year seems to be very short, but it is also very long. If the great demon Suanxia is truly evil, it will be enough to expose him. Wang Feng is not worried at all that he can't suppress the great demon of Suanxia. Even if the great demon of Suanxia really recovers to its peak within this year, he will only develop the immortal sect stronger. Wang Feng still has this confidence. Wang Feng waved his hand and said, "Let's go." Sect Master, where are you going? After Wang Feng's voice fell, Ling Fiwu and Li Qing suddenly said with a puzzled look, isn't the whole immortal sect just in front of this thatched cottage? Take you to the real residence of my immortal sect." Wang Feng glanced at Li Qing and Ling Fiwu, and said proudly that his immortal sect was not a shabby sect, he was just Loki. Hearing this, Li Qing and Ling Fiwu were shocked all of a sudden, and their eyes showed a touch of brilliance. Are they finally going to see the real immortal sect? The great demon of Suanxia also revealed a touch of expectation. Sure enough, he inadvertently provoked an ancient hidden world sect. Otherwise, how could it be possible for such a sect of thatched hut to appear in the Xianhuang realm and the princely realm? At this moment, the great demon of Suanxia also raised an expectation in his heart. He would like to see, what kind of hidden sect is this so-called immortal sect? Afterwards, Wang Feng led the crowd into the thatched hut. The narrow thatched hut was instantly crowded. Ling Fiwu, Li Qing, and the great demon Suanxia all looked at Wang Feng expectantly. Open! Under the expectant gaze of the three of Xianxia, Wang Feng's expression condensed slightly, and with a low roar, a purple gold token appeared in his hand. The token was engraved with dense mysterious runes, and the front was engraved with "There are 2 big characters for immortals, and 3 big characters for the sect master's order" on the back. When this token appeared, the void in the thatched hut suddenly trembled, and then, under the shocking gazes of the three of Xianxia, a door of space suddenly appeared in the thatched hut. What kind of sect is this immortal sect? Its station is in a secret realm. When he saw that door of space, a look of shock appeared on the face of the great demon Suanxia, and his heart set off a storm. That's a secret realm. What a terrifying hidden world sect to be able to set up a sect station in a secret realm. The secret realm is extremely rare in the Xianlan continent. Only the powerhouses above the Suandi realm can open up the secret realm. Every time the secret realm appears, it will set off a storm, because the mysterious realm is very likely to have the Suandi realm. The treasures left by the strong are even inheritance. This is enough to cause any cultivator to go crazy, but the great demon Suanxia did not expect that the immortal sect would directly occupy a secret realm. This means that the divine immortal sect is at least a sect created by the powerhouses of the profound emperor realm, and it also means that the divine immortal sect has the inheritance of the profound emperor realm. For a time, the heart of the great demon Suanxia was pounding, and he suddenly felt that he joined the immortal sect, as if it was not a humiliation, but an opportunity, the inheritance of the strong Suandi realm. If he can get it, then he. After the door of space opened, Wang Feng stepped into it first, followed by Yekukan and Ximenchuixu, and the 3 people in Suanxia who were shocked also reacted and stepped into the door of space quickly. After stepping into the door of space, Wang Feng suddenly felt the scene change, and then he and Yekukan appeared on a plane. Wang Feng raised his eyes and looked up, and his heart was suddenly shocked. At this moment, the 3 Xianxia, who appeared behind Wang Feng, were also stunned. I saw that, dozens of meters in front, stood a magnificent stone gate. The entire stone gate was hundreds of meters high. The upper cloud was embossed, and the 3 big purple characters of Shen Xianzong were engraved in the middle. It stood tall and had an extraordinary style. Of course, this alone is not enough to shock the great demon Suanxia. Behind the stone gate, there are a series of white jade stairs. These stairs are suspended in the air. In that sky, there is a group of magnificent palaces hidden in the clouds. At first glance, it seems like the residence of Xianjia. Just a glance is enough to shock the heart. Standing under this stone gate, even the great demon of Suanxia, who was once at the peak of the Xianhuang realm, had the feeling that he was an ant. He looked at the immortal sect residing in a fairyland from a distance, and sighed sincerely. The immortal sect, the word immortal is worthy of the name. In the field, the only people who were not shocked were Yekukan and Ximenchuixu. In the eyes of these 2 people who only had swords in their hearts, everything except the sword was a cloud. After a while, Wang Feng frowned. This sect residence seemed to be extremely brilliant, but he always felt that something was missing. Oh yes, it was profound energy. The air should be stronger than the outside world. However, Wang Feng felt that the profound energy in his sect residence was extremely thin, and even the concentration of profound energy in ordinary places outside was not as good. System, what's the matter with the profound energy in this small world sect station? Wang Feng frowned and asked secretly. Cultivators mainly absorb profound energy and strengthen themselves. The concentration of profound energy is very important for cultivators. If the concentration of profound energy in the sect station in this small world is only this level, how did he quickly develop the immortal sect? Ding! This small world sect station was created by the system, and it did not take in the profound veins. The secret realms above the Xianlan continent were all created by the powerhouses of the Suandi realm. Under normal circumstances, the powerhouses of the Suandi realm would arrest them. Go to the profound veins and integrate into the secret realm you created to increase the concentration of profound energy in the secret realm. If the host wants to increase the concentration of profound energy in the sect's residence, after the host has broken through to the profound emperor realm, he can capture the profound veins to be integrated, or the host will draw a lottery to draw the profound veins, and then integrate into the sect's residence. The cold voice that sounded in his mind made Wang Feng glance at him, and was quite speechless. With his current state, it would be so easy to break through to the Suandi realm. That is to say, he had to keep drawing lottery prizes. To obtain profound veins and increase the concentration of profound energy in the sect's residence. Ma Dan, Go system, is to constantly squeeze his sect value, pit after pit, not a son of man. Wang Feng shook his head and temporarily put aside the problem of the concentration of profound energy in the sect's residence. He can only hope that his luck is good enough to be able to draw profound veins in the next lottery. Profound veins, derived from the natural evolution of heaven and earth, are the essence of heaven and earth profound energy. They contain infinite profound energy. Once integrated into a certain place, the concentration of profound energy in that place can be increased several times. Therefore, in Xianlan continent among them, the more powerful the sect, the more profound veins it has and the more advanced it is. Profound veins can be called the foundation of a sect. Wang Feng walked forward with everyone, slowly climbed the white jade stairs, and walked towards the sect station. Stepping on the white jade stairs, Ling Fiwu and Li Qing were very excited, and their faces were extremely solemn, as if they were in the middle of nowhere. Pilgrimage in general. Even the great demon Suansha, stepping on the white jade stairs, felt a little restrained. He felt as if he was going to the place where the immortals lived. The more he went up, the more he could feel an invisible pressure. So that he, such a perverse demon, dare not be presumptuous. After a while, what appeared in front of Wang Feng and the others was a magnificent hall, nearly 1,000 meters high. Live in awe. Around this huge palace, there are a number of attics, large and small. Although these attics are not as shocking as this hall, they are also filled with a mysterious ancient atmosphere. Those attics, you can choose one to live in at will. After choosing the residence, you can also take a look at the residence of my immortal sect, but some forbidden places, don't trespass. Wang Feng pointed to those attics, directed at Xianxia and others said. At this moment, there are only so many people in his immortal sect. This station is so large, and it is naturally more casual. When the sect grows, everything will have to formulate regulations. Yes, sect master. The great demon Suansha, Ling Fiwu and Li Qing heard Wang Feng's words, and immediately gave a salute and said aloud. After seeing the horror of the immortal sect, the great demon Suansha was forced from the beginning, and now he has gradually accepted the fact that he joined the immortal sect subconsciously. Reading www.yuyuganshu.com. As soon as this sect is stationed, you can see that it was created by an extremely terrifying Almighty. Then, Wang Feng went straight to the huge palace in front of him. After Wang Feng stepped into the huge palace, Yegukan and Ximenchuixu also flashed and disappeared, appearing in the two attics closest to the huge palace, one on the left and one on the right, guarding Wang the huge palace where Feng was. The three great demons of Suanxia also looked excited and began to choose their own attic. After opening the gate of the palace, Wang Feng suddenly felt an ancient and vicissitudes of life blowing towards his face. He looked at the entire hall and saw a brilliant throne placed at the highest point in the hall. In the hall, the same there are 20 chairs, 10 on the left and 10 on the right. Although these chairs are very large, they still occupy less than 1/10 of the space of this great hall. Wang Feng stepped forward, sat on the highest throne, looked at the entire hall, and suddenly a sense of pride rose in his heart. One day, he wanted this hall to be filled with powerhouses of the profound emperor realm. System, use the random summoning opportunity. Then, Wang Feng secretly said, "Ding, congratulations to the host for summoning the Lord of Yuhua Palace to invite the moon, may I ask the host to check its attribute panel?" The cold voice that sounded in his mind made Wang Feng tremble. He didn't expect that he would summon the world's most beautiful person who was both a and a ghost. Wang Feng couldn't help but sound the man's evaluation of Yeyu, it's a god, a ghost, but not a human. Even though Wang Feng knew that the characters summoned from the system would not hurt him, he was a little apprehensive in the face of Yeyu. The first release of this book comes from 17K Novel Network, so watch the genuine content for the first time. However, in general, Wang Feng is very satisfied with summoning Yeyu. As his immortal sect grows, the management of the sect is also very important, and Yeyu can manage the huge Yuhua Palace. There is no doubt about the management ability. Although his temperament is indifferent and arrogant, but there are system restrictions, Wang Feng is confident that he can still control Yeyu. Check Yeyu's attribute panel. Then, Wang Feng said without hesitation. Ding, Yeyu's attribute panel is as follows: Name, Yeyu. Title, the world's most beautiful, the master of the Huahua Palace. Cultivation, early stage of Xianhuang realm. Profound skills, Minjiao, transferring flowers to jade, peak of imperial products, Xianbing, blue blood shines bright red, the peak of the emperor. Looking at Yeyu's attribute panel, Wang Feng was shocked. He was worthy of being the #1 female expert at that time. He was indeed powerful. The most important thing was that Wang Feng knew that the combat power of the characters summoned from the system could not be based on cultivation alone. Look, whether it is Yegukin or Ximenchuixu, the combat power far exceeds their cultivation level, and this is the case for Yeyu. Just when Wang Feng sighed, the void in the hall suddenly trembled, and then, a figure dressed in white floated down from the void, her clothes fluttering, like riding the wind, her hair is like a cloud, she is graceful, like a fairy. When he saw his face, Wang Feng was shocked. For a time, he couldn't describe Yeyu's face in words. It seemed that he was born with a kind of intimidating magic power. Yu, I have seen the sect master. A smart and ethereal voice resounded in the hall. Seeing this beautiful figure like a fairy bowing his head to himself, I have to say that at this moment, Wang Feng also felt a sense of pride in his heart. You don't need to be too polite, you will be by the side of this sect in the future. Wang Feng looked at Yeyu, nodded, and said. Yekukin and Ximenchuixu are infatuated with swords, and the sword will be stained with blood, so it is not suitable to follow him. He is so small that he can't hold the palm of the big demon of Suanxia at present. Yes, sect master. Yeyu said respectfully, her face still as indifferent, without a trace of waves. Listening to Yeyu's voice, Wang Feng sighed in his heart, this voice is cold and ruthless, but soft and delicate. If Yeyu is not so cold, so cruel, just with her face and even her beautiful and moving voice, I am afraid it is enough to attract people. Men all over the world are chasing her, but if that's the case, she's not inviting the moon either. You go down first, when the sect wants to go out, you will be by the side of the attendant. Wang Feng said, although Yui was beautiful and moving, it was so cold that he shivered. Yes. Hearing this, Yeyu gave a respectful salute, and then her delicate body moved, and the whole person disappeared without a trace in an instant. Watching Ye Yu leave, Wang Feng calmed down and began to investigate his cultivation and the power he was familiar with in his body. On the other hand, after Ye Yu left the main hall of the sect, she just found a loft to live in, and at this moment, it happened that the great demon Suanxia just came out of the attic next to her. Strange, isn't this divine immortal sect the great ancient hidden world sect? Why are there only a few strong people? What about other strong people? Logically speaking, the ancient hidden world great sect shouldn't have only these few people. A look of doubt appeared on the face of the great demon Suanxia, and he whispered. Wang Feng asked them to choose the attic by themselves. The great demon Suanxia was not polite and chose one by one. Of course, he seemed to be choosing the attic, but he was actually inquiring about the details of the immortal sect. What made the great demon Suanxia strange was that these attics it turned out to be empty, and even some halls were empty. If the divine immortal sect is a hidden world sect, it is impossible that there are only so many people. Either, this divine immortal sect is just an empty shelf, and there are really only a few people, in sleep, he has not fully woken up yet. For the hidden world sect, the great demon of Suanxia still has a little understanding. Under normal circumstances, when the real hidden world sect avoids the world, the strong people in the sect will directly fall into a deep sleep to reduce the consumption of life and wait for the coming of the glorious world. Wake up again! Those so-called secluded sects who are actually still active in the mainland are not really secluded sects at all. And this immortal sect, in the eyes of the great demon of Suanxia, is the real hidden world sect, so he prefers the latter. After all, this immortal sect gives him an extraordinary feeling. While thinking about it, the great demon of Suanxia also walked towards the attic where Ye Yu was located. He lowered his head and thought, and gradually approached the attic where Ye Yu was located. Without thinking, I opened the door and walked in. Boom! When the hand of the great demon Suanxia just touched the door of the attic, a terrifying aura suddenly burst out from the attic. The door of the attic opened automatically at this moment, followed by a flashing light. His palm print, under the terrified eyes of the great demon Suanxia, bombarded him brazenly. Boom! The great demon Suanxia, who was caught off guard, directly endured this terrifying palm print, and the whole person flew out and smashed on the floor in the distance. The entire floor was torn apart instantly, and the ground shook. If you dare to trespass again, you will die. Then, a ruthless and soft voice came from the attic and exploded in the ears of the great demon of Suanxia, and then the door of the attic closed automatically, and the whole attic returned to calm again, as if nothing had happened. Pfft! And another profound emperor. The great demon Suanxia spat out a mouthful of blood and his face was pale, but at this time he ignored his injuries and looked at the attic with a horrified expression. It seems that, as he thought, the great powers of the immortal sect have fallen asleep one by one, and have not really woken up yet. I am afraid that this one has just woken up after being disturbed by him. Thinking of this, the great demon Suanxia immediately broke into cold sweat on his forehead. He felt that his previous behavior of investigating those attics one by one was simply courting death. At this moment, the great demon of Suanxia has a genuine awe for the immortal sect, and there are strong people in the Xianhuang realm at every turn. For such a sect, it is better for him to stay honest, otherwise, it will disturb the stronger ones. He was afraid that he didn't know how to die. How long has it been since then? There have been 2 Xianhuang realm powerhouses in Chengxianzong, saying that there are Sunzun realm powerhouses beyond Xianhuang realm in Chengxianzong, and the great demon of Suanzha believes it. He looked at his severely injured body, and there was a touch of bitterness on his face. At this moment, there was a sword wound on the left side of his chest and a palm print on the right side. Nima is embarrassed. The key point is that he didn't dare to fight back, so he could only hide in a small corner silently, licking the wound and healing himself. Thinking of this, the great demon Suanxia suddenly felt depressed, and he didn't dare to explore those attics anymore. He randomly chose an unmanned attic and lived in it. The next day, in the hall of the immortal sect master, Wang Feng called Ling Fiwu and said with deep meaning, "Fiwu, you have just broken through the Xianzhong realm, and your cultivation has not yet been consolidated, right?" "Yes, sect master. But master has already made a series of plans for Fiwu to consolidate his cultivation." Ling Fiwu looked at Wang Feng with admiration and said softly, "Yes, but this sect asked you to come this time because there is one thing I want to entrust you with." Wang Feng nodded and said, but he was secretly surprised. It seemed that Yekukan really wanted to take Ling Fiwu as his apprentice. Yekukan, who has always been arrogant and cold, treats Ling Fiwu with all his heart. "Sect master, please say, Fiwu will never give up." Hearing Wang Feng's words, Ling Fiwu's pretty face suddenly flashed a serious color, and he said quickly, "It's not that serious. This sect wants you to help your senior brother Li Qing practice." Wang Feng waved his hand and said, Sect master, Fiwu is still only at the Xianzhong realm, how do you teach senior brother Li Qing to practice?" Hearing Wang Feng's words, Ling Fiwu was stunned for a moment and wondered. "This sect wants you to practice more against Li Qing. It's best to beat him to half-death. As long as he doesn't die, you can beat him any way you want. So, what?" At first, Ling Fiwu listened to Wang Feng's words and wanted to agree, but the more she listened to her, the more she felt that something was wrong, and her whole body trembled even more. Is the sect master so cruel to his disciples? Could it be that the suzerain has a tendency to abuse people? Wang Feng looked at Ling Fiwu's body trembling, and her pretty face was even more pale. She immediately knew that this girl wanted to go wrong, and explained, "You senior brother Li Qing is immortal. But its physique is extraordinary, but it has not been activated yet. Once activated, it will surely amaze the world. And if you want to activate your brother Li Qing's physique, you must be stimulated externally to activate it." Hearing Wang Feng's explanation, Ling Fiwu nodded suddenly, but she was a little skeptical. What constitution needs to be abused to activate? If you don't believe it, you can give it a try. As long as you don't kill your senior brother Li Qing, even if you are seriously injured, it won't take long for your senior brother Li Qing to be alive and kicking. "Yes, sect master, this disciple will go to help senior brother Li Qing." After hearing Wang Feng's words, Ling Fiwu did not hesitate any longer, and bowed respectfully at Wang Feng, then walked out of the hall and went to look for Li Qing. Ling Fiwu has absolute trust in Wang Feng's words, but this is too strange after all, so Ling Fiwu intends to give it a try first. If it is true as the sect master said, as a junior sister, she will definitely do her best to help senior brother Li Qing. "Activate your physique." Looking at the back of Ling Fiwu leaving, Wang Feng's eyes flashed with a hint of deepness, and he whispered, "Li Qing, I hope you can resist. Once you activate the body of the turtle spirit and Xianxian, you are qualified to sit firmly in the Shengxianzong Big Brother's seat. I don't know why junior sister Fiwu is looking for senior brother." In the attic where Li Qing was, Li Qing looked at Ling Fiwu who appeared in front of him with a puzzled look and asked, "Senior brother, offended?" Ling Fiwu didn't answer, but clenched her fists at Li Qing and said softly, then the profound energy in her body surged, and a pair of slender hands stretched out and slammed towards Li Qing. The first release of this book comes from 17K Novel Network, so watch the genuine content for the first time.